On the 15th of October, Bertie Archibald III started to suffer depression. As a self-proclaimed philosopher on a constant journey of understanding, this didn't sit well with Bertie. He was used to his daily routine satisfying him. It was a simple life, and maybe the simplicity was what had gotten to him. It consisted of waking up to his favorite morning coffee, caring for his elderly mother, arranging his library books, watching true crime TV, and booking his gambling bets in the evenings as he watched the results of those roll in. Bertie was the type of man that just the smell of his leather had made him feel everything would be right and okay. So he himself had been surprised when nothing interested him anymore. Nothing the doctor gave him to fix it. Thus depression helps explain how Bertie was driven by the paleness of his existence to head onto the dark web. Upon introspection, Bertie realized the only way out of this ghost-faced existence was to face his fears. Intuition told him the prescription was reaching into the darkness nooks to look at the dread head-on. Bertie didn't like it, but sometimes broccoli doesn't taste good, 'tis need. Let's pause and look from the treetops at the prey below us. This is the Black Magician's path. Was Bertie ever cut out to do such? Hypnosis spellbinds. Sing to our mother. Sing to her about your own death you called for. Thanks for choosing us. Signed, the Black Oaks Coven. Now to the heart of the matter. Bertie hated psychopaths. Truth was, Bertie liked his books because he hated people, stinking foul flocks of sheep. Yet his hatred of psychopaths was a loud trembling crescendo, clanging in his head like torture. He could turn red with rage thinking about them. Like cymbals reverberating in his mind, his desire to crush a psychopath was tolling. Clanging like sirens testing tornado warnings. He would sit eating Cheeto Puffs in front of his TV watching crime shows, snarling about what he would do if he could rip those killers with his bare hands. Tear their hearts out and hold it up in the air, that was what he would do. Bertie knew this was in fact due to two reasonings. Reason one was ignorance. Reason two ate at him more. As an intelligent man, psychopaths stood out as irrational to him, an unsettling mystery that stood outside his understanding. The psychopath, a wolf in sheep's clothing, prowling the masses with ease. The masses were two steps being, to Bertie, inferior. But in Bertie's world, you don't take advantage or harm the weak sheep, you extend them help, even if they are stupid. As far as Bertie was concerned, when you come across a certain strange uncanny sheep which happens to be a psychopath, your whole body shudders in quivering sensations of fright. A fright that puts you two steps behind, and Bertie did not like that fright reside in his soul. Each night after he entered his bettings for the evening in his phone, he seethed that psychopaths were one step ahead of him, betting with more freedom than him. Bertie was weak in his own mind, he had to pause to transcend his fears to place his bets, and he was sure the psychopath used the moment of pause to be two steps ahead of him. Mocking him. After all, the psychopath's hunter instincts gave him edge. Or so Bertie had wound himself tight into a ball thinking. The fear of being outwitted by something he didn't understand, this is how the philosopher ended up on a dark website promising to help you face your fears. Bertie paused to look over the advert. Dark curandero death magic, feeling depressed, anxious, or frustrated with how little your life means. Let us kill you. Let's try that again, come to our coven camp of black magic witches where we promise to kill you or die trying. We repeat, you will face your fears, or die trying. The price was a little steep, but Birdie knew that $30,000 spent was nothing compared to the paleness he was feeling. No amounts of pills from the psychiatrist had fixed this. He could feel it in his gut, but that night a nurse with glowing eyes came to his dreams and handed him a black-lit candle, hissing in his ears that she knew he was too cowardly to come meet her. The corn calls for its harvest when its golden leaves are full of the sun, and so it's that you dream of the being the prey of mother. Come, Birdie. Let the sickle of mother bring solace. Dry like the corn of our mother. Dry, my love. Dry, your tears, Birdie, your suffering is over. And when he woke, he wired the money to them, just as they requested. A small note was returned to him that said, "No money given back if the gas kills you." Please listen to this song each morning for 1 week before your arrival. We practice the dark arts. There are no refunds. Black Oaks Botanico Coven thanks you for your purchase. It was a week later when Birdie heard the Death Icaro songs from the link that he realized this coven he was going to visit in the desert had to be psychopaths. The song was nothing more than the ear-piercing screams of an eagle descending on its prey and a whistle warbling in a horrifying sound that was sending rage up his spine. Birdie, who had burnt his own heart black wishing horrid things on these inhumane predators, was now not fully sure he was ready to face a whole coven of psychopaths. What had he done? Was there no way to escape? Suddenly doom came over him, paralyzing his extremities, and he cursed that the philosopher in him had sought to understand these beasts. Not only understand them, but he'd hand money to him. Money his mom could have used to visit Disney World, her sister in Phoenix. There went her dream of taking a cruise down the Rhine, gone and put in the pocket of crazed lunatic. A sense of unease settled over Birdie like a shroud. Strange noises filled the air, the crackle of static electricity shifted in the room. A whooshing sound filled his head, and Birdie felt the sensation of claws scraping against the small of his back. He let out a gasping scream when his phone suddenly texted him unexpectedly from an unknown number. Birdie clicked it, still feeling as if talons were piercing down his spine. "You can never escape." That's all it said. Birdie threw his phone down, tossing himself onto his couch, hot tears bursting out like warm blood sopping down his cheeks. He looked over at his mother knitting with her elderly eyes squinted. Who would check on her at 4 a.m. when she needed help going to the restroom? Oh, what had he done? When the black oak leaves fall off, the owl's sickle claws can feel the wind better. 2 steps ahead of you. What a treat. Be very, very still, don't tr part 2. Feeling depressed, anxious, or frustrated with how little your life means? Let us kill you. Let's try that again. Come to our Black Oaks Coven of Dark Curandero Death Magic, where witches promise to kill you or die trying. We repeat, you will face your fears, or die trying. On the 15th of October, Birdie started to suffer depression, and it was thus that drove him to use his mother's life savings to seek his own death on the dark web. He shoved 3 sweatshirts, 3 pairs of hemp pants, some boxers in his bag. What else was a person supposed to pack when they headed off into a camp of psychopaths waiting to kill you? He looked over the Black Oaks Coven's last message sent to him. Hi Birdie Archibald 3. No need to worry about towels and toiletries, Black Oak's coven provides those to our guest. We now sing to our mother of Mu'urt your name. We hasten the demons to soothe you. We have foreseen your arrival in vision and we do not predict you will even make it to the sacred roots ceremony. Are you always 2 steps behind? We sharpen our sickles for you. Sincerely. The Black Oak's Coven of Dark Curandero Death Magic. Birdie simmered in rage rereading it. How had they been able to predict him? As he drank his morning coffee with trembling hands, he mulled over how the long tails on Luna moths are designed to throw off the echolocation of bats. If only the same applied to mankind, then his own flapping hands would be capable of saving him from his impending doom. He turned to look at his elderly mother rocking in her chair. She looked so frail and innocent, and for the first time, he realized he may never see her again. His sister would be arriving soon. He'd already explained to her that the constant caregiving had wore him out. How he'd signed up to take a small cruise to relieve himself of it. He didn't see the need to explain that he was heading into a black magic coven in the Sonora Desert. He didn't want his sister to try to stop him. He'd made up his mind. He was $30,000 deep into this, why stop now? He'd defeat them all. He pictured the coven sharpening the sickle awaiting him. Flickers of sparks filled his eyes. His Uber had arrived to take him to the airport. The coven would be waiting for him at designated spot, the Fawn and Buck gas station. And when he woke from the airplane, he took an Uber straight away to there. By the time Birdie opened the door on the coven's station wagon, he wasn't even surprised to hear the Death Icaro songs that they'd sent him in the link. But to his horror, one of the women quickly turned around in the seat, her eyes held an otherworldly glint. The woman then spoke in a voice that sounded haunted. "I'm sorry you can't know the location," she whispered and placed an ether rag over his nose. Birdie's hand was trembling. He placed his coffee down on the table, looking at the frailness of his elderly mother. For the first time, he realized he may never see her again. He looked out the window looking for his Uber. He went to speak to his mother, to tell her sorry that he would be away for a few days. "Why have you forsaken me, son?" she hissed. He stumbled backwards, unable to grasp how she knew of his plans. Her face was suddenly covered in ash. She held corn in her lap that was spilling onto the floor around her. Chipmunks were eating on it. She smiled at him, her teeth now jagged, sharp razors. Birdie fumbled for the phone on the kitchen wall to call for help. His trembling fingers struggled but finally managed to press in 9-1-1. A horrible silence mocked him for what felt like eternity. Finally a crackle sound broke the silence. "Why have you forsaken me, son?" the phone hissed it. Lullaby bells playing in the background. Birdie placed the phone up, fighting the urge to run as fast as he could. He knew just what he would do. He'd turned on his true crime TV. At least something in the world was right. The channel came in loud and clear. Luckily, there it was, his psychopath killers he loved to hate with the regularity of mental Metamucil. He leaned back in his chair. The people at the 30-minute mark were never the killers. Suddenly the ear-piercing screams of an eagle descending on its prey rang out. He sat upright. The inside of the Coven station wagon was on TV, "I'm sorry you can't know the location," she said, and placed an ether rag over a man's nose. Bertie hated her. She was surely a psychopath, he thought. And he fell asleep. Doom woke him shortly after. Sleep paralysis had frozen his hands. A hauntingly beautiful woman was over him, her white fabrics draping against her translucent skin, her breasts so close to his nose that he could smell them. He tried to move his frozen hands to feel them in his palms. But his hands were 2 steps behind and frozen. The crackle of brimstone filled the room with deep golden sparks in the air. The vision in white moved in closer to him, this time holding a mask. Gas was seeping out with a soft, whooshing sound. She dug her nails into his back, scraping against the small of his back. His phone suddenly texted him unexpectedly in his pocket. She held it up with her painted red nails clasping it for him to see. "You can never escape." That's all it said. "You were not supposed to have this," she said as she flung it across the room. He watched mesmerized as she fumbled in a box, then lit the 3 black candles she had pulled out. Suddenly, with the light, veils parted and another room became visible to him, a glittering one full of jewels and fruit. He turned to ask her how the wall had parted, but saw the glint of the sickle along the hem of her white skirt. He lay still as she unclothed him. She whispered in his ear, "When the black oak leaves fall off, the owl's sickle claws can feel the wind better. I am 2 steps ahead of you always. Be very, very still, don't try to hide. I am here to relieve you of your woes. Fire are coming for you. Flies are everywhere on your rotting corpse." His body was filled with wanting. She spoke gently into his ear, "Your face is turned up to see the sun. I am the black void, but you want to be deep in the pitch of me. Warm where mother's soft flesh cradles you. Sheathed in my boat I will take you across the seas to the void. Our coven awaits your arrival at our table. Rise up. Rise up," she sang. Her voice was spine-tingling and melodic at the same time. He cried white-hot tears that stung as her flesh pressed against his flesh. The spell was suddenly upon him. He had fallen for the psychopath's demise of him. He had no fear left in him. Her voice was nearly as if it was bells now. "Beloved, I shall now anoint you with mother's special oils formulated to ease all pain." Without removing him from warm void that nestled him, she rubbed her magical oiled hands all over him, knowing exactly where he held his deepest pains and tending to them with extra devotion. As she leaned into each ache of his body, she murmured, "I like to be like the flame. I'd like to be like the flame of your funeral pyre. I hold your wick in me." She crouched over him, her talons deep in him. "Kill me," he said softly and grasped onto her. His voice parted from his body as he spoke. He flew like a Luna moth towards the light. He opened his eyes. "How was your cruise?" his sister asked. "Any ghostly happenings?" Perhaps it was his mother sitting in the corner with the warm afternoon sun settling over her softly. Maybe it was the haunting allure of his true crime TV playing in the room, but Bertie settled into his chair with ease. "It was wonderful," he said. "The boat was very smooth ride. Everything was right and proper in the world. His favorite show was on and the murder is never at the 15-minute mark," so he settled into his chair to take in the formulaic nature of it all. The psychopath would do their time at the end. and he barely noticed when his mother lifted the sickle from her leg and sliced his head clean off. He watched from the ceiling as his head tumbled onto the floor. Why to hide in the shadows? This will be continued very soon.